Here's a question I'm asked fairly frequently. Should I buy a new home or an existing home, a used home? And you know what my answer is to that? A new home. I mean, wouldn't you rather have a brand new roof, a brand new HVAC system, brand new appliances, brand new floor, or would you rather have an HVAC, floor, roof that's 25 years old? Now, even though we all know that, the interesting thing is that nearly 2/3 of all buyers here in the Boise housing market end up buying an existing home rather than a brand new home. And the reason for that is that it's not actually totally cut and dry as to which is better. So I want to get into the details on that in this video. I'll start first with some stats to set the context, and then I'll talk about the buying process, because that certainly is a factor in deciding whether or not to buy a brand new house or an existing home. And then I'll finish with the pros and cons of buying a brand new house and why ultimately most people end up choosing an existing home. So let's start with the median price for existing homes and for new construction. So last month, those two combined, the average of new construction and used homes was $540,000. It's about a 1% gain month over month. Year over year, exactly the same. If the median price is your only gauge for what the value of your house is, you made $10 over this past year here in Boise. Yeah, probably not so good. $539,990 last October. The sales actually are up 47% year over year. So that's pretty significant. Days on market, 42. Month supply of inventory overall here in Boise, 2.55 months, and that's slowly been coming down. But let's break that number into the median for new construction and the median for existing homes. So the median for existing homes last year was $530,000, last month, I should say. So that's a gain of 1.32% year over year. The average number of days that it takes to sell an existing home here in Ada County in Boise was 30 days. And there's about 2 months of inventory on the market right now. Now, new construction is slightly higher. It costs more to buy a new house, and so the median is higher. $568,416 last month, so that's October of 2024. Now, I will say this, that part of that might be due to the demographics of who is buying new homes. Generally speaking, you don't buy a brand new house as your first home. Usually the first home that you buy is an older home, a smaller home, an existing home. And so usually those who are buying brand new homes usually have a little bit more money because they already have equity in the house that they are selling. And so they're able to buy a little bit more expensive house. And I think that's part of the reason why the median is pushed up here a little bit for new construction. But nevertheless, a brand new home is obviously more expensive than an existing home that's 20 or 30 years old. Now, new homes are down to about 2.5% year over year. The median last year was about 2.5% less than 568,000. And there's a bit more supply on market. So you have a little bit more choice when it comes to a brand new house. 3.25 months or so on market. So overall, new homes are more expensive to buy than existing home, which makes sense. But what percentage of people are buying brand new homes here in the Boise housing market? 67% this past month purchased existing homes versus 33% of all home buyers who purchased a brand new house. So the market share for existing homes is 2/3 of what it is for new construction. Now, I will say that it's slightly less actually in Canyon County. Last month, about 53% of all home buyers purchased existing homes in Canyon County. But on average, if you average it all out, it's usually about a 60-40 spread in Canyon County and a 66-33% spread here in Ada County. Why are more people buying existing homes than brand new homes? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand the buying process for both of those types of homes because it's different and it certainly does factor into my clients for sure, their decision in whether or not to buy an existing home or a brand new house. So first of all, the buying process for an existing home. When you buy a used house, you are going to put usually 1% down as earnest money. Now, there's no law in Idaho that says how much your earnest money should be or needs to be. That's all negotiable. That's all written into the contract. But usually 90% of the time, put 1% down. Usually once you're in contract, you will have an inspection period of about 5 business days. Now again, this is all negotiable, but usually that's the generally accepted time frame for your inspection contingency period. Now, during that 5 business day period, you can pull out of the contract for any and every reason and get your earnest money back. A couple years ago, I wanted to buy a house as an investment, and I got in contract, had the inspection, and as I was at the inspection, I peered over the fence, and 2 bulldogs jumped up and nearly ripped off my nose. I thought, wow, there are some mean dogs in the neighbor's backyard that was butted up against the house I was in contract on. And I ended up backing out of the deal because I wanted to rent out the house, and I said, I'm not taking that liability. So I backed out of the deal and I got my earnest money back. You also have an appraisal contingency. What that means is if the appraisal comes in low and you can't come to terms on what the purchase price should be, you get your earnest money back. You also have a financial contingency in a normal existing home contract. So what that means is, let's say a couple months before you close, your lender calls up your employer and says, hey, does Benj Foreman still work at such and such a place? If you've lost your job between when you first applied to get pre-approved by your lender and when you're going to close, then the lender is going to say, I'm not giving you the money. You have to be able to repay your mortgage. And so if they pull the funds, you actually get your earnest money back because your purchase of that existing home is contingent upon you getting the financing for that property. The other part of the buying process is you should hit the like button if you're getting value out of this video. Oh, I don't know where that came from. If you can hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it. This video goes out to more people like you. So thank you so much. Usually you should expect a 30 to 45 day escrow period. And finally, any surprises that arise during the purchase period usually are on the seller. Now, when it comes to new construction, the process is much different. Usually the upper hand goes to the builder. First thing is you usually are gonna put more than 1% down as earnest money. Usually it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 2%. Could be $10,000, it could be $20,000, a set number. But the important thing is that that money is almost always non-refundable. And what non-refundable means is you ain't getting that money back for any reason. Doesn't matter if your grandmother dies, doesn't matter if you are involved in a hurricane or car accident, you ain't getting that money back. You also do not have an inspection contingency period when you buy a new home. You can't back out of the deal once you sign that contract. However, you can get a third-party inspection, and any problems that are mentioned by the inspector, usually the builder will fix everything. But if the builder doesn't want to fix something, he just says, I ain't fixing it, don't want to do it. And you have very little leverage as the buyer. Also, you don't have a financial contingency. Your purchase of the house is not contingent upon you getting the financing. So you better make sure that your lender is sure that he's gonna give you the lender that, that he's gonna give you the money. You better make sure that the lender does all of his background work before you sign that contract, because if 3-4 weeks down the road, your lender says, oh, I forgot that you had this debt and now you don't qualify, you ain't getting your earnest money back, because that earnest money is non-refundable. And the builder doesn't want to pay for anything, by the way. Builder won't pay for any sort of closing costs, any HOA transfer fees. All of that is on the buyer. So you, the buyer, don't have the upper hand when it comes to a new home. Now, if you're buying a new home, usually you'll have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the close date. If you're buying a spec home, usually your escrow period will be anywhere between 30 to 60 days, depending on where that home is in the completion process. If you're buying a custom home or a semi-custom home, where you actually have some input on what the builder is putting into the house, your lead time is usually gonna be anywhere between 6 months to 8 months. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to surprises, the builder usually has the upper hand. So if there's any delays, even if it's the builder's fault, the builder usually is just gonna say, sorry, and then you, the buyer, have to just deal with it. You're probably not gonna get any concessions from the builder. So with that in mind, what are the pros and cons of buying a new home? Well, there certainly are some advantages to new construction. And number one, everything is brand new. You also will have a 1-year full warranty on everything inside the house, on appliances, everything else. 10-year structural warranty. Also, the advantage of new construction is a longer escrow as possible, so that allows you a little bit more time to plan. And you also have the possibility of getting a contingent offer accepted. Now, I'm not saying that this is always the case, but it's easier to get a contingent offer accepted by a builder than it is by an existing homeowner. Now, as far as the negatives to buying a new home, number one is it's more expensive. Now, it's hard to put a hard and fast number on this, but I would say, generally speaking, ballpark, it's about $50,000 more to buy a brand new house than it is to buy an existing home that's, say, 20 years old. You also have very little negotiation power. You are at the disadvantage. The builder calls all the shots, and so if you want to get a good bargain, new construction is probably not the route for you to go. You have no contingencies when you buy a brand new house. When you sign the contract, you are agreeing to buying a house. And if you don't buy that house, you lose your earnest money. And depending on how long you've been in contract with the builder may want to take even more than your earnest money, might take you to court to try and get more out of you. Also, rear landscaping is usually not included in new homes. So take that into account. That's another 10 grand easy just on rear landscaping. Blinds are also not usually included. That's going to be an extra cost as well. HOAs are usually higher in new construction. Brand new homes usually have more amenities in the community, so the HOA fees are usually a little bit higher per year. You're not gonna be able to find a new home with no HOA. Second to last, the lot size is usually smaller on a brand new house. That's because developers are trying to make as much money as possible. So usually you're gonna have smaller lots. Obviously, the landscaping is gonna be younger, less mature, so that's less appealing to a lot of people. And then finally, buying a new home does have a stigma. And this is something I hear a lot. A lot of people don't like the tract home feel. There's a tract home stigma. They all kind of feel the same. You know, you might have 4 different models in an entire neighborhood, and people like a little bit more diversity in the style of homes. And so some people don't like that. So why is it that most people, 2/3 of all people, are buying existing homes rather than new homes? Number one reason is price. You're gonna pay at least $50,000 more for a brand new house. Number two, people like bigger lots. And so more people buy older homes that have bigger lots, that don't have the tract home feel, and that have more mature landscaping. 3, people don't like the tract home stigma. They don't want all the houses to look the same. They want more diversity in home styles. And then number 4, people just want to live their life in freedom. They don't want a strict HOA telling them where to park their car, how to edge their lawn. They just want to live peacefully. So the next time you ask me, should I buy a new home or an existing home? My answer is going to be, it depends on you. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. Thank you so much for watching. Tap the like button on the way out. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you. My number is right here.